What if the reason that you feel stuck or have not made the changes that you really want is not because you haven't tried hard enough? What if it's not because you lack awareness? What if it's not because therapy doesn't work? What if it's because healing and thriving was never meant to happen with the mind alone? Because something isn't working, and deep down, you know it, and I know it. Because insight alone does not always create transformation. So I'd like to welcome you to the Holistic Therapy Revolution. This is a podcast for aligning mind, body, soul, and energy when talk alone is just not enough. And often it isn't. It really just isn't. So for decades, we have been taught that if we can understand our past, we can change our thoughts, if we can gain insight, that change will naturally follow, right? We have been taught that if we could just understand what's happened and then shift our mindsets, that change will follow from there. And it's true. Insight is really powerful. And sometimes all we need is insight to be able to propel us forward and to make meaningful change that really benefits us. That is really true. But after more than 25 years as a therapist and over 30 years immersed in the healing fields, I have witnessed something again and again and again that is unmistakable. Understanding our pain, our past, our patterns is not always the same as transforming it. And this is because real healing invites the whole human experience, the mind, the body, the emotions, our world, our energy, what many of us may also experience or call the soul. That real healing involves all of those parts of us, all of those different layers. And when we begin aligning all of these layers, something really profound becomes possible. And that is really what this revolution is about. So I'm Beth Miller. I am a trauma therapist. I'm an anxiety specialist. I also specialize in PTSD and CPTSD. I'm a meditation teacher. I do energy work with people. And I am the creator of the model Advanced Holistic Counseling and Coaching, which is a holistic model of therapy. But more than anything, I am a lifelong student of really one essential question, which is, what is it that truly helps people to transform? What really, really works? Not just to cope, not just to manage, not just to survive, though of course those are essential and important, but to actually become free, to be more of who you truly are, to be able to be free from the tethers of the past, to become and stand in the light of the connection with who you truly are at your best. So here's where this kind of began for me. Early in my career, I spent about the first decade working exclusively with adults that were sexually abused as children and were abused in other ways as children. That was what I did all day, every day. And a lot of my clients were incredibly high functioning, but even the really high functioning ones with these severe abuse histories often still had significant depression, debilitating anxiety at times, addictions, relational wounds, self-harming behaviors, suicidal behaviors, eating disorders, very strong, powerful beliefs about themselves that were very limited. And all of these invisible burdens almost seemed woven into their lives and into them. Now, I had clients that were really dedicated to their work, and many of them were incredibly insightful, They understood their patterns. They could articulate their pain with remarkable clarity. They understood what had happened and how they got here. And yet some things just weren't shifting. And a question began guiding my work and guiding my life, which is, what else is possible for healing? What else is possible for thriving? How do we get there? Our experiences live in many places in us. They live in our physical bodies, in our biology. They live in our beliefs. They live in our emotional patterns. They live in our sense of meaning, our relationship with the larger universe. They live in the subtle ways that we hold our energy and we express our energy. Insight truly matters. It is a tremendous tool that is essential for so much of healing, shifting, transforming. But transformation rarely happens through a single doorway. And this realization changed the trajectory of my career and my relationship with life forever. So, I became an eternal student. Over the next several decades, I immersed myself, in addition to my traditional psychotherapy background as a clinical social worker, I immersed myself in approaches that expanded beyond traditional talk therapy. I used to go into my clinical supervisor's office and I would say, we're not going to get at all of these things just by talking about this. I was Emdr certified at that point. I was also a DBT therapist. We were using these extraordinary tools, but I was saying it's not enough. It's like we can't get all of this through the mind alone, and even through DBT, through Emdr, there were still limitations. And she knew this as well. She was a brilliant therapist that was on the leading edge. And so I just felt like I had to do a deep dive to find out what else was out there. So I started integrating other modalities that explored brain patterning and the body and emotional processing and subconscious patterns and behaviors and spirituality and intuition and meditation and energy and chakras, all of it. I wanted to know what was really going to work to help people to truly step into who they were meant to be in this time and space on this planet. And not because psychotherapy lacks value. I not only respect psychotherapy, I love psychotherapy, but because human beings are far too complex to be healed through one lens alone. And that's just true. Now, as my work became more integrative, as I was trying on all of these tools and curating the ones that worked the best, something really remarkable was happening. My clients didn't just understand themselves better. They began shifting faster, living bigger, releasing once what felt permanent, becoming versions of themselves that felt like who they really were, and a version that felt untethered by past experiences and instead having grown from those experiences. And because, of course, I practice what I teach, I have to experiment on myself first to make sure that this stuff works. I experienced profound transformation in my own life. And that is when I knew that healing and thriving expands when we treat the whole person, all the layers, and not just through the one lens. So, holistic counseling and holistic therapy is not about replacing traditional therapy. It's about expanding what's possible. And at its heart is one simple, profound truth. We are not just thinking beings. Yes, the mind is powerful, but we are biological, we're emotional, we're relational, we're spiritual, we're energetic beings. And when we begin to work with all of these dimensions, change stops feeling like a constant effort. And instead, it feels like a natural unfolding. It feels different. I like to think of holistic healing as resting on 5 layers. Mind, where we create awareness and meaning, but also the superpower of what we create because our imagination lies there. And the body, where life is experienced and expressed and reflected back to us. And the emotional layer, where we're holding our interpretation of so many things and how we experience them in our emotional selves. And then the soul, our connection to purpose, to wisdom, something larger than just our conditioning. And our energy, the subtle but powerful ways that we influence and are influenced by the energetic world around us. And when these align together, when we get closer, when we are helping these different layers to communicate and we're addressing them, healing and thriving often really accelerates. So if you've ever felt like you were, failing at therapy, or, failing at your self-growth books, and this is whether you're a therapist or whether you're somebody who's gone to therapy or whether you're somebody who's never gone to therapy, but you would like to shift and change, but you just don't know how, please hear this. You're not failing. You're not failing. And therapy's not failing either. It's just that healing and thriving may simply require a larger lens. In fact, it does. It requires a wider lens. So this podcast is for therapists, yes, who are ready to grow beyond traditional models, who want to understand more about holistic therapy and holistic counseling and how they can integrate it, beyond just being a therapist that does yoga. That's not a holistic therapist. That's somebody that is integrating their own practices in their life, but they may not necessarily really know how to do holistic therapy and holistic counseling. But this is also for seekers, for helpers, for healers, for deeply aware human beings who know that there's more available in their healing and their thriving than perhaps they've ever been shown. You don't need to fit into any of those categories. It's for anyone that has that curiosity, because that curiosity is enough. And if you want practical skills and tools from a holistic lens that you can immediately integrate into your life, whether you're in therapy or not, you can integrate them into your life on a daily basis right after you listen to whatever podcast I have that day. Or if you're a therapist, you can immediately take that skill and that tool and bring it right into your sessions and start integrating more holistic skills and tools and strategies into the work that you're doing. Sometimes I might even bring in real cases, of course, editing out important details, and take real cases and show how we can address that from a holistic lens instead of just from one lens. If you feel called to deeper transformation, if you feel called to there is something more and I want to help find it, you are definitely in the right place. So in the episodes ahead, we are going to explore integrative clinical approaches, powerful healing tools, emerging perspectives, conversations with experts who are helping to redefine what transformation can look like. What are the tools, the skills, the gadgets, the things that really help people to change? And I'll help answer the questions that might be burning for you about what really works. And we're going to be taking a look at what it really truly means to thrive, to not just survive, not just get by, but to fully live as the being that you were meant to while you're here on this planet. We are entering into a new era of healing and thriving, one that is more integrative, more compassionate, and more aligned with the fullness of what it really means to be human. And whether you're here as a professional or as a fellow traveler on the path, I am so deeply glad that you are here. If something inside of you has sensed that freedom is more possible than you've been told or you've been shown, then you are exactly where you need to be today. And I would like to welcome you to the Holistic Therapy Revolution.